Chapter 29. Is this what soulmates feel like, my love? Flashback. Nice, French Riviera. Sophie guided Ryan through the streets of Nice, France. The warm Mediterranean breeze tousled their hair, carrying the scent of salt and adventure. So what's the deal with this mission, and where's all of our stuff? I'm still feeling some type of way that Luke didn't loop me in. I make one joke about his suit, and now I'm in the doghouse. We're almost there, babe. And everything we need is on the boat, Sophie replied mysteriously. Boat? Yes, boat. You know what they say about black folks in swimming, right? Ryan, I swear, if you start with those stereotypes again... Nah, hear me out. They say we ain't built for the water. What? You know how to swim, crazy. I'm just saying. Not sure if shooting people in a life jacket with water goggles on fits my aesthetic. Oh my lord. Ryan, focus. We've got a job to do. As much as Ryan's antics drove Sophie mad sometimes, she wouldn't change a thing about her. Her wife's wit and silliness were part of what she loved most about her. When they approached the marina, Ryan continued to bombard Sophie with questions, but Sophie simply smiled, her lips sealed. The fancy yacht rocked calmly on the see-through water. Stepping onto the deck, Ryan's jaw dropped by how beautiful everything went. I don't know what we're doing, but this is the best mission location to date. The crew greeted them with smiles and pleasantries, and suddenly, a chocolate birthday cake was brought to the deck. Sophie wrapped an arm around her wife's waist, pulling her close as she and the staff sang, "Happy birthday." She had meticulously planned every detail of this private getaway, determined to make Ryan's birthday unforgettable. There was no mission on their agenda, just a few days isolated with the woman who made her heart beat. The unexpected move had Ryan tearing up, emotions welling as she was touched by the effort. "I can't believe you did all this for me." As the yacht set sail, leaving the city behind, Sophie led Ryan to their deluxe cabin below, where an orange sundress lay on the bed, its colors a perfect match for Ryan's brown skin. "Change into this," she whispered, her lips brushing against Ryan's ear. "I'll meet you on the deck in 30 minutes, and I'm going to send the crew to their quarters so we can have the space to ourselves." Before she could leave, Ryan pulled her into a deep kiss, her hands tangling in her hair. She placed Sophie's hand over her heart. "Thank you, baby." "Anything for you, my love. Absolutely. Anything." Slipping into the sundress, Ryan had to stop and admire the baddie staring back at her in the mirror. She felt like a goddess, ready to be worshipped by her devoted wife. On the deck, Sophie waited in her own attire, a silk cream button-up, beige trousers, and a new pair of Gucci shades to top it off. She left a few buttons undone, knowing it'd probably drive her wife wild. When Ryan came upstairs, Sophie damn near forgot her own name. Her woman was hands down the most sexiest figure to ever walk this earth, and she was the most fortunate woman in the world to call her mine. She still made her feel like a smitten middle schooler again. Her wife's very existence made her heart flutter and her palms sweat, just like their early days. She's seen her in countless outfits over the years, from tactical gear to ball gowns to flannels and basketball shorts, but nothing could have prepared her for this, and she didn't quite know why. Maybe it was the way she wore it, or the way the fabric seemed to dance around her legs. Or was it that damn smile that was nothing short of intoxicating, the one that always made Sophie weak in the knees, smile that held so much joy, so much life, and crazy shenanigans, the kind of smile that could light up the darkest of rooms. But she wasn't the only one drooling. Ryan stopped dead in her tracks at the sight of Sophie waiting for her. Damn. Damn. Where the hell did that outfit come from? She thought to herself. But it wasn't just the clothes or the shades. It was her. The way she carried herself with that quiet confidence, that air of mystery and allure that turned Ryan on the most. She knew she was staring, probably looking like a fool with her mouth hanging open. But she couldn't help it. Sophie just has that effect on her. She sauntered over to Sophie and immediately traced a finger down her exposed chest, her touch delicate and teasing. "Behave," Sophie warned, her voice low and deep, and sent a trillion shivers down Ryan's spine. But what if I don't want to behave? Fighting to maintain her self-control, Sophie grasped that hand and brought her fingers to her lips. She sucked on them graciously, her tongue swirling around the digits while holding Ryan's eyes with hers. Ryan's knees weakened as she felt her walls clench. Sophie released Ryan's fingers with a pop and a smirk on her lips. More of that to come later. She turned around, picking up 2 cocktails from the nearby table, and handed one to Ryan. "Cheers to my favorite person in the world. God knew what he was doing when he made you. And he really showed out when he had you chasing me through the streets of Gotham." Ryan rolled her eyes and shot her signature side eye. "Here you go, bringing that story up." Sophie laughed richly. "No, but seriously, Rye, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love you more than words can say." "I love you too, Soph. More than anything." Ryan's clinked her glass against the other. "Loving you is as vital and instinctive as me being able to breathe." She then placed her drink down and walked over to the railing to admire the sunset on top of the beautiful water. Sophie followed suit, setting her glass aside and moving behind her wife. She stepped closer, her body molding to Ryan's back as she began to trail soft kisses along her neck. Ryan's breath hitched, feeling a presence touch her back unexpectedly. She dipped her ass into Sophie's crotch, wanting to feel it a bit more. Turning her head, she raised an arched eyebrow. "And what's that I feel back there? What do you think? You serious right now?" "Dead ass." Sophie's tone was low and seductive. Ryan bit her lip, holding Sophie's stare for a moment before turning back around. She leaned forward, gripping the railing tighter as she arched her back, pressing herself more firmly against her wife. Sophie took the invitation, unbuttoning her trousers and pulling out their favorite toy that was strapped to her. But before she got to the main event, she wanted to take her time first. She lifted the sundress, slowly pulling the satin panties down to Ryan's ankles. Her fingers traced up to where Ryan needed her the most, drawing slow circles around her clit. Her flesh swelled larger with every second as her body quivered with need under Sophie's skilled touch. Her fingers dipped lower, sliding into Ryan fully with ease. She pumped in and out, pressing against the clit she was just massaging. Ryan's hips bucked, desperate for more, desperate for a release. Sophie could feel Ryan staggering on the edge, with her inner walls clenching around her fingers as she rubbed and curled against her sweet, spongy spot deep inside. Sophie wasn't done yet. She was just getting started. She pulled her fingers away, leaving Ryan whimpering and wanting. With a little smile, Sophie brought her wet fingers to her mouth, sucking his taste off them. Ryan stared, craving for a taste too. Reaching for the strap-on, she wanted to lubricate it with Ryan's arousal, but another idea popped into her mind. She brought her right hand to Ryan's mouth and said, "Make it wet for me, baby." Ryan thirstily took Sophie's fingers into her mouth, swirling her tongue around them, coating them in her saliva. After a few moments, Sophie withdrew her hand, using the moisture to lubricate the dildo. Once it was slick and ready, she leaned in against Ryan's ear. "Arch your back for me, love." When Ryan obeyed, Sophie eased the strap-on inside. It was warm, sticky, and inviting. The initial stretch was intense, but as Sophie began to move, Ryan found herself rocking back to meet each push. Sophie's hips moved in a mesmeric rhythm, locking and circling in a way that made Ryan's body tremble. Her motions started slow and controlled, but as Ryan's moans got louder, she quickened the tempo, fucking her with reckless passion as she pinned her against the railing. She knew that if she pushed harder, they would probably be somewhere in the sea. Fuck, Soph. Ryan's head fell back against Sophie's shoulder. This is the best damn birthday present ever. As Sophie's thrusts grew more ardent, she leaned in against Ryan's ear and panted out affirmations between breaths. You're the most incredible, amazing woman I've ever known, Ryan. Powerful, brilliant, and so damn beautiful. Ryan tried to respond, but the pleasure made it impossible to form coherent words. The sensation of Sophie filling her so fully, combined with the love and worship in her wife's words, was almost too much to take. I love you more than life itself, Sophie continued to declare with deep emotion. You're my soulmate, my everything. Getting closer to the edge, Ryan could feel her orgasm building, the pressure coiling tighter and tighter within her. Come for me, love, Sophie begged, her thrusts becoming more focused, hitting that magic button inside Ryan with every stroke. I'll catch you. With a loud cry, Ryan tumbled over the edge, her world shattering into a million pieces. Wave after wave of extreme pleasure spread to every nerve in her body, making her body tremble and her toes curl. Sophie held her through it all, murmuring words of love and praise as Ryan rode out the aftershocks of the most powerful orgasm she'd ever experienced. Finally catching her breath, while Sophie was still buried deep inside her, Ryan couldn't stop herself from giggling. Damn, baby, I think the whole crew and everyone on the French Riviera heard me. Don't worry, babe. I bought noise-canceling headphones for everyone. Sophie laughed and kissed her shoulder. As the night drew to a close, they retired to their cabin, bodies connecting again, their souls forever bound. During many more rounds of lovemaking, the yacht rocked gently. They drifted off to sleep, secure in the knowledge that they were made to love each other, to walk this wild journey of life as one. Present Black Bat Trauma Recovery Unit. The sterile hallway of the secret hospital seemed to stretch on forever, with its white walls and shiny floors. Jordan paced back and forth nervously, confused, unaware of what was happening. All she knows is that she received an unknown call in the middle of the night from someone she's never heard of, and was told her sister and her sister-in-law were in the hospital. The extent of their condition was not shared. When Jordan scrambled to get up and start booking tickets, she was alerted that a private jet would be waiting for her at the airport, and that they would be there in an hour. She had tried to ask questions, to demand answers, but the men in suits had brushed her off with vague assurances and empty responses. Now, 5 hours later, she was inside a hospital that looked like it belonged somewhere in the future. Beside her, another woman she had never met before. Iris. She thought her name was from overhearing her talk to the nurses and looking for Ryan, sat quiet, also full of worry and fear. Jordan recognized the name from conversations with Sophie and Ryan, and remembered Iris was Ryan's best friend. The bright clinical lights beaming down the hospital corridor had her mind overflowing with what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. Where were they? What had happened to Sophie and Ryan? And why did all the secrecy and the hush-hush routine leave her feeling more like a prisoner than a concerned family member? Jordan peeked over at Iris, noticing how tightly she was gripping her hands together. The woman looked just as clueless as she felt, eyes puffy and red like she'd been crying for a while. It was obvious they were both being kept on the outside, left hanging without any real info on what went down with their people. And the suited men who had brought them there were nowhere to be seen. They had disappeared behind closed doors and left them to their own devices. Jordan had pleaded, demanded, and even threatened them, but they had remained stoic. Jordan couldn't hold it together anymore. Her composure was completely shot. The thought of her fearless big sis and Ryan, who she had grown to love, was somewhere vulnerable and hurting. She was seconds away from straight up confronting one of those men in black, ready to let them have it, consequences be damned. That's when the double doors down the hall flew open. When the doctor approached, she looked between Jordan and Iris with compassion and concern. Ms. Moore? Ms. West? A nod was all Jordan could manage, her throat closing up. Iris did the same beside her, their hands intertwining in an unspoken bond of solidarity between the two strangers. "I'm Dr. Isley. I've been treating your loved ones, Ryan and Sophie Wilder. Are they going to be okay?" "I won't lie to you. Their injuries were severe. We've done everything we can, but the next 24 hours will be critical. It's still very uncertain." Jordan's legs nearly buckled under the weight of the doctor's revelation, her free hand flying over her mouth to stifle the sobs. Beside her, Iris released a pitiful sound as she screwed her eyes shut, desperately trying to block out the doctor's words. "I don't understand," Iris managed to say. "What happened to them? And why all this secrecy? Why are we in some kind of secret hospital?" The physician traded a look with one of the suited agents, who curtly bobbed his head. Redirecting her attention to the two young women, she softened. "I know you have a lot of questions, and I promise we'll do our best to answer them. But right now, the most important thing is that your family is in the best possible hands." She gestured to the men. "These men are here to ensure their safety and yours. I know it's a lot to take in, but I need you to trust that we have their best interests at heart." Part of Jordan wanted to go hard, demanding the full story right then and there, but something about Dr. Isley's delivery stopped her short. "Can we see them?" Iris asked, hopeful. "Yes, but just for a little bit. Follow me." As they walked down the hallway, Jordan wondered what kind of shape she would find her sister in. Not knowing was strangling her, making it feel impossible to breathe. But under all the panic, it didn't matter how ugly it got, how far off the rails. She'd have Sophie's back, holding her hand, drying her tears, scrapping like hell to pull her back to life. And from the look on Iris's face, she knew she'd go to war for Ryan too. They entered the hospital room, bracing themselves for the worst. But nothing could have prepared them for the sight that greeted them. Ryan and Sophie lay in adjacent beds, their bodies pale and sticky against the white sheets. A mess of wires and tubes were snaking all over them, connecting them to a bunch of machines that kept beeping and humming. But it was their hands that caught Jordan's attention. Despite everything, despite the injuries and the machines and the ambiguity, Ryan and Sophie's hands were connected. It was as if, even in their unconscious state, they were reaching for each other, refusing to let go. Next to her, Iris's eyes welled up as she looked at their intertwined hands. She had never witnessed a love this intense, a connection so tight that it pushed past the limits of being awake. It was both beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, proof of just how deep Ryan and Sophie's love for each other ran. They zoned out for a minute, captivated by their loved one's bond. But Iris got pulled out of it when her ears picked up on the pattern of beeps coming from the heart monitors. "Do you hear that?" Iris whispered. At first, Jordan didn't understand what had caught Iris's attention. The beeps were just background noise, a reminder of Ryan and Sophie's dangerous health. But as she listened more closely, as she really tuned into the sound, she realized something extraordinary. The beeps were perfectly in sync. Even in their comatose state, their bodies were attuned to each other, forever in harmony. It was a miracle, a sign from the universe that Ryan and Sophie were meant to be together. They shared an unbreakable love that was more powerful than any earthly force. They had always known that the two women shared something special, but seeing it manifest in such a tangible, undeniable way was mind-blowing. It gave them hope. If a love this strong could endure even this, then surely Ryan and Sophie could find their way back to each other.